The other day, while cleaning out some bits in the garage, I found this Kodak Ektar 100 color negative film from the camera shop downtown in Traverse City. And I believe the film expired like a year and a half ago. But you know what? Let's see here. Actually, it was like 3.1 years ago. Anyway, I'm still going to use it because film's expensive and it'll probably still be just fine. Yeah, I love this stuff. And it's processed with the C41 process, so most camera shops still develop it, albeit at a probably slightly higher cost than what's necessary, but it's fun every now and again. So the first thing I need to do is pop off the back with this take-up lever right here that winds it back in once the film is all expired. Pop that, the door pops open, get the film, 36 exposures on this beast. I thought it only 24, so that's pretty cool. That's quite a few for a roll. So it makes developing a little bit more justified as far as the cost. I don't do my own developing because I don't have the capacity, and I don't want to deal with the chemicals afterwards. The proper way anyway. Okay, so that's locked in now. Get that guy in here. I haven't done this in years, so I think what we do is we get these little nibs on here and we do that. So now we have that started. Get it unlocked. It's already unlocked. The shutter has a lock button on it, which is super helpful with these other cameras. Okay, beautiful. Do a little bit closer up here. Do a couple practice shots, and you'll see here the shutter's tripped. This is the advanced lever for the film to go onto the take-up spool. As you can see now that the teeth have grabbed and it's properly wrapping around there. I'm going to do two more. One more. Alright, film's in there now. And what I do is I slightly tighten up this spool right here. Side to side. That spool, I can't talk anymore. This side, I tighten up so it's tight against there. Then I close the back. Film is loaded. And then make sure that's good. Now on the top here, I'm going to just lock the shutter so I don't accidentally take a frame I don't want to. That's the nice thing about this Vivitar 250 SL. It has a nice lock feature on it. The 220 SL does not. So if you ever look for one of these, try to find the 250 SL and save yourself some grief with accidental shutter trips. Because film's expensive, so I mean every frame counts. And if you have an accidental trip of a shutter while you're packing your camera up, that's one less frame. So get there with the lock if you can. Anyway, that's that part. And then the next part of this whole deal, because it's an old camera, there's some foam seals that would be in contact with the door latch in the back to keep light from coming in. Light can bend and go into the back of the film plane. So I just have some cheap electrical tape from the dollar store or whatever. It all works the same. I don't care how expensive you get it. But what I do is I just tape the back because this tape leaves a little bit of residue, but it's an old camera and you know it can come off if you really wanted to. This camera is by no means a collector's masterpiece or anything. So I just wrap the back of the camera with some electric tape to keep the seals. To make a seal effectively, because the foam seal is pretty much shot, I end up taking the foam seals out if I get one of these older cameras, and I just usually replace it with like a felt with some super glue, or I just take it out completely and just use electrical tape. And now I'm just going to spin it around to the back, and I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Usually I find the light comes in from the top part of the door than the bottom plate, but you never know. And as I'm doing this, I'm using scissors and I'm just not ripping off the tape because I want nice sticky edges everywhere. So it looks decent still. And I'm also pressing in the tape to conform to the contours of the back of the camera. And I'm also going to do the sides. And the coolest thing about this camera is there's no need for any batteries. Yes, if you'd like to use the meter that's with the camera, the meter being the thing that reads the light and tells you what to expose to some degree, you can get a little watch battery or whatever battery it is, but once you become comfortable with exposure techniques and just know what you're doing, don't really need all that stuff. So this camera is running with no batteries whatsoever. It's all mechanical, which is beautiful. Because of course, as it said, everything runs by batteries and computers these days. And the only computer running on this thing is with my brain, which isn't the best computer. I'd say if my brain's computer, I'd probably be Windows 7 or something. Not XP, because XP was cooler, but I'd make Windows 7 pretty decent, but not the best computer out there. Alright, so I'm just sealing that up, and what I might want to do actually is do a little bit on the bottom here because I have a little loose lip and it's going to catch out there. Alright. And I might be covering up buttons on here that I might need later, but that's not going to matter until later on because the film's in there. Like this one, this releases the film so you can start to rewind it. But I don't have to worry about that right now. Alright, beautiful. All set. As I mentioned, it's been years since I've taken out a film camera. And I'm pretty excited to get back into it with this camera, especially the Vivitar 250 SL. Again, my favorite feature is the locking shutter button right up here. Unlocked, locked. This way you can't take any accidental exposures. It's a tank of a camera. Has a nice 20mm lens up front. All nice, solid control of the lens. Love the top plate. Has its take up right here, and it has the advanced lever for the film. Nice dial here for shutter speed and whatnot. There's a cold shoe, and then a battery light indicator, which of course I don't use, and that's a button you push to check your battery, but I don't bother with that, so that's fine. And you can see my tape job to kind of seal the top in the back here. This isn't the best, but I think it'll work. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing fancy. There's some attachments to the side, which I never bother with because I'm not a studio photographer or anything. Bottom's pretty straightforward where the battery goes. Nice little tripod socket. Yeah, nothing fancy, but over the course of the next week or so, I'm going to take a bunch of shots with this, and I'll feature them in one of my next videos. I may have already missed the best part of the light here behind me, one of my favorite haunts along West Bay. I have my Vivitar 250 SL. I'm almost done with my entire roll of 36 exposures, minus about 4 because I accidentally took the shutter. But we're going to head down to the beach down here before too long so I can get a shot of that awesome light with the shadow of Power Island in the background. Alright, so of course it's starting to drizzle a little bit again. I'm going to have the lens facing downward while I go through my exposure selections. I'm going to come closer. Hopefully this will work. On my shutter speed, I think I'm going to go with about 250 because this is ISO 100 film. I'm going to go with a wider aperture because also wider, film that's at a lower rating of 100, so it's not sensitive to light, if I said that right. And yeah, 2.8, I think I'm going to, well, I'll shoot at about aperture f4.0. And of course, infinity focus, which is indicated by the little 8 thingamajiggy over there. And a cool leaf just fell down there. So we're going to go unlock the shutter, of course, and see what happens. Ooh, I love it when it's like this. I think I got this just in time. Should have been about 20 minutes earlier, just classic in my book. All right. Nice solid hold. 1, 2, 3, exhale. Hopefully that works. Alright, so in a few minutes I'm actually going to be heading off to the camera shop in downtown Traverse City to get this roll of 36 exposures developed and digitized, which means it's going to either go onto a DVD, or I think they probably now have switched to a USB thumb drive at this point. Hopefully that, because the discs are a little bit old-fashioned in my opinion. But I got like 2 or 3 more frames. I think we're going to finish up in this area somewhere. Get some really cool, somber-looking frames, nice and relaxed and low-key because the rain's starting to come through and it's so gorgeous right now. Well, I had time for one more frame. I guess it's in the expired roll now. It's all used up. So what you do is after you feel the advanced levers start to get a little bit stiff, which means that you're out of frames. And of course you could use the little window on the side here which tells you how many frames you've used too, but I rely on the advanced lever. Anyway, You go to the back, you push this button right here. This releases the spool for the take-up where all the exposures are. Make sure that sits in. And then on the top, you get that little lever and it shows you going clockwise, and it will spin that film that you advanced back into the canister. Yeah. And when you do this, you want the film to go all the way back into the canister when you take it in for development. Oh, almost there. And then grab. You can feel a bit of resistance because it's off the take-up spool. And I think the sucker is all spooled in. Close that back up. And I'm not going to take this back off until I get into the car so it stays dry. Alright, I'm in good old Lot G, located behind the camera shop. One of the best lots in Traverse City. Pop that lever. And if I did this right, my Ektar 100 roll of film should be right here, and it should be dry, which it feels to be. And then, yeah, you just gotta pull this thing up, and then that will release professionally like that right between your legs. But whatever though, yeah, time to take it in. Today is December 10th. It's a Sunday. Yesterday I took my film into the camera shop, and today I am out with another film camera, the Nikon N2020, or I think it was the F501 in European markets. Look it up online. It's a great camera. This was kind of their first big deal in the autofocus world. A lot of people complain about the autofocus, but in 1986, I don't know what, I mean, in 1986 it was what it was. Everything has to evolve, so I have no complaints. I found using this camera so far in single focus instead of continuous autofocus helps alleviate that hunting that so many blogs and vlogs complain about. On another note, if you haven't watched last week's video, I introduced to you one of my favorite humans, Dana. And in this video, he explored his thoughts on photography and his past as a photography instructor and just his overall perspective on photography. Please check that out if you haven't, and if you have, thank you. And with this in mind, I'm going to continue doing these types of little mini docs, these little 5-minute little snippets of some of my other favorite humans. And in the next one, I'm going to be introducing to you folks a woman named Mary. She's wonderful, she's smart, she's funny, and she offers another unique perspective on the natural world and her interaction with it. So until next time, of course, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, share this video, and others, of course, tell all your friends about them. I'd really appreciate that. And of course, until next time, remember, break for squirrels.
Progress is looking an awful lot like entropy here tonight.